Welcome to Sound of Hope News. I'm your host, Wei Fang.
And I'm Kathy Zhang. Welcome.
Okay. Yeah, so today I want to bring you to two topics. One is what you see already on the headline, which is about what happened to those
the woke corporations.
The woke corporations. Some twisted, there's some twist here. It's very, very interesting today that just happened today. So the leading woke companies, something happened to them, and what it is. Let's hold our breath for a little bit. And then the other thing I want to talk about, this is one of the big news, right? Ashli Babbitt, if you still remember. Ashli Babbitt, the Air Force veteran, 35-year-old, who was shot to death on the January 6th. Okay? Today, DOJ, the Department of Justice, pretty much the DC Attorney General Office, issued a conclusion, a statement about the investigation of the policeman who shot at her, okay? And the conclusion is there's no charge filed. The policeman will walk away, all right? What happened? Okay, the gun, you saw our video, right? The gun was extended out and the trigger was pulled and Ashley was shot a few feet away. And she's posing no threat to this policeman. And what is the reasoning behind that? 110 days investigation. Finally, they let her go. But why? What's the reason there? That's what we want to bring it to you. And we do want to compare that case with what happened in Minnesota. 3 days ago, this policeman, Kim Potter, right? Kim Potter. Mm-hmm. And she drew her gun. She meant to draw her taser, but she drew the handgun and shot a black man. And then she was arrested today. After she resigned, and she was arrested and charged. So same thing. Two similar things happened today. How to compare with them? How to compare them? That's what we indeed want to bring to your notice. All right. So let's talk about this issue first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So today's the Department of Justice sent a statement. Actually, just online and through the email, they didn't really have a press conference to announce that they will not pursue any charge towards the Capitol Police who shot Ashli Babbitt dead. And so Ashli Babbitt, 35 years old, an Air Force veteran from San Diego. And so what's the reason for DOJ not to pursue any charge? It says that the focus of the criminal investigation was to determine whether the federal prosecutors could prove that the officer violated any federal laws, concentrating on the possible application of 18th United States Code Section 242, right? Federal Criminal Civil Rights Statute. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it said in order to establish a violation of this statute, prosecutor must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the officer acted willfully to deprive Ms. Babbitt of a right protected by the Constitution or other laws. Here, the Fourth Amendment rights not to be subject to an unreasonable seizure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, there's a lot of legal jargons there. It's very hard to understand just with one glance. But we are the journalists, so we took the time, we dive in, we just analyze every sentence, making sure we can present it to you in the most plain language, okay? And so basically, the key of the investigation is whether this policeman, mind you, who's this policeman? Nobody knows. Nobody knows who he is. Even today, 110 days later, nobody knows what is his name or her name. Nobody knows. And why is that? Now he's been vindicated, right? This guy has commit no crime. He has no problem. Why don't you release his name? They didn't do it. We don't even have that kind of transparency. And then this lady died, right? This lady died. A 11-year Air Force veteran died. And there's no name who shot her. Anyway, let's look at this law, right? This law is basically saying that the investigation concentrate on the possible application of 18 U.S.C. Section 242. In plain language, it says a law enforcement person cannot, if willfully subject any person in the United States to the deprivation of any rights. Here, of course, we're talking about the rights is the right of life. Okay, so of course, he's subjected to his life was taken away, was deprived. So the only key word here is willfully, willfully. All right. As we see off from the video, a adult, conscious adult, extend his hand, which hold a pistol, and pull the trigger, and actually fell. All right, and the investigation needs to prove that this is not a willfully, this action, right? Just follow us. Okay, before we dive into that, how the DOJ proved their case, this is not a willful. We need to mention about the investigation said this. He shot Ashli Babbitt's left shoulder. All right.
In the left shoulder.
In the left shoulder. Let me read the original word. A USCP, U.S. Capitol Police Emergency Response Team administered aid to Miss Babbitt, who was transported to the Washington Hospital Center, where she succumbed to her injuries.
Yeah, and before that, they said an officer inside the speaker's lobby fired one round from his service pistol, striking Miss Babbitt in the left shoulder, causing her to fall back from the doorway and onto the floor.
Right.
So they didn't, first of all, was it really a shot on the left shoulder? The videos we showed before in our previous programs, and a lot of the other video sources showing it's not just on the shoulder. And if say it is really on the shoulder, how could she just die?
How did she die? There's no major blood vein here. If you shot someone in her left shoulder, she died. How did she die? Shouldn't they explain that? There's a lot of blood, losing a lot of blood. The bullet hit a main vein. There's no main vein there, right? And from the video and from all the information that we can read from the web, it's the neck.
Also from the interviews that we did.
Yeah.
On the day.
It's shot in the neck.
Yeah.
So if it's shot in the neck, why the DOJ says shot in the left shoulder? Who's right? Who's true? Somebody has to tell the truth. Somebody telling the lie. Okay.
But the investigation didn't reveal. You know.
So they didn't reveal that you shot somebody in the left shoulder and she died right away. How does that death happen? Okay, that's one of the questions, one of the big questions. Okay, now let's come back, focus on this word, willfully. This guy or this gal, we don't know. Okay, willfully, he's not a willful. All right. So between this conscious adult responsible person extending his hand, holding a pistol, and pull the trigger, shot somebody to death, and it's not a willful. How do they prove that? Let me read to you these two defense for your original word. As this requirement, this section 18 section 242, okay, you need to prove it's willful. As this requirement, just hear me out. As this requirement has been interpreted by the courts, I don't think any courts is involved. So this is hypothetical cases. Evidence that an officer acted out of fear, mistake, panic, misperception, negligence, or even poor judgment cannot establish the high level of intent required under Section 242. All right, so basically he says, if a judge look at this, if a person acted out of fear, mistake, and so on and so forth, and poor judgment cannot establish that he's willful, right? It doesn't matter, yeah, makes sense, I agree with that. But what's the case with this guy or this gal? Did he act out of fear or panic or misperception or negligence or poor judgment? There's no word, there's no finding. Basically, he panicked or he make mistake. Maybe yes, maybe no. Essentially, that's what they wrote. Maybe yes, maybe no. They state nothing in their 10 days investigation. Next sentence. Investigation revealed no evidence to establish that at the time of the officer fired a single shot at Mr. Babbitt, the officer did not reasonably believe that it was necessary to do so in self-defense. Can you understand it? I mean, your English must be better than mine, but let me read it again. I can get it. Investigation revealed no evidence to establish that at the time of the officer fired a single shot at Mr. Babbitt, the officer did not reasonably believe it was necessary to do so in self-defense. So basically, there's no evidence to prove that he did not do it in self-defense, right? You got me? Okay, now the question is, did he do self-defense or not?
They didn't say that either.
Maybe yes, maybe no. They didn't say anything. They said there's no evidence to prove that he did not do that, do it for the self-defense. So did he do the self-defense? Maybe yes, maybe no. They didn't give any answer. Okay, this is two major reasons they give in this statement. It's a formal statement given by our Department of Justice. Literally say nothing. Okay, this guy make a mistake. He panicked. Maybe yes, maybe no. This guy did a self-defense and to fire the trigger, to pull the trigger. Maybe yes, maybe no. Based on knowing nothing, reveal nothing, we let him go. That's the essence of this statement. Is that right? I mean, this is all on the web. This document is not canceled. It's not taken off, forced to take off. You can read that. Whether you draw the same conclusion as I do. Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe yes, maybe no. We find nothing. So he's not willful. He's free to go.
Yeah, and the Babbitt's family members, they have a Twitter account, and on there, from today, they just had a statement saying that the authority, the DOJ official, actually reached out to them, tell them the conclusion, right? But there was previous statements from earlier this month, and let's see, C5. They are saying that a witness confirmed that the officer who shot Ashli Babbitt did not give her a single verbal warning prior to the firing. In fact, Ashli was not even aware of the officer was present, as he was located in the doorway of a room to the side of her field of vision. It's very clear from the video that you cannot barely see the man's or the woman's, we don't know who, the identity, the face, right? Only saw the hand with a gun. Mm-hmm. It is true that, Ashli, it's really behind the doorway, right? Mm-hmm. In the room. So that's and also, the family of Babbitt was really frustrated that there's no transparency. Because of, there's little is known about this police officer who shot, who pulled the trigger. Mm-hmm. So they said that this lack of transparency impedes public scrutiny, which is necessary to hold government officials accountable in a free society. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the DOJ dance around the matter and say nothing, conclude nothing, finding nothing, and then they acquit. That's what I see, essentially. How about this? Let's move on to another case. Okay, this is Kim Porter's case, right? 3 days ago, as you know, that what's the name? Wright. Yeah, Wright was a Black American was killed. Right. Dante Wright. Wright was killed, and then this is what happened. Okay, there's a traffic stop. It was like a traffic stop. And Kimberly Porter, she's a 26-year veteran, and also he's a training officer. Mm-hmm. Right? He's very experienced. Okay. Anyway, so she with the two other officers, they stop this guy and then start to check on him. It's a traffic stop, but as they were waiting there, they checked the computer. Okay, they found something. They found there's a warrant on him, and he was charged for the first-degree assault. Okay, so things got tense, and what was his name again? Dante Wright. Dante Wright, yeah. Dante Wright started to, fight back or something like that. Yeah, and so actually, I read something, he actually has a gun in the car. Mm-hmm, yeah. Anyway, so Kimberly Porter is supposed to pull her the taser, but she pulled a handgun and shot him to death. All right, so that happened, and then just go back to the 18 USC section 242, right? Just citing the Department of Justice, same reason.
If somebody acts out of panic, mistake, negligence, poor judgment, cannot establish the high-level intent required under this section. And by the same token, she should be let go.
Yeah, and Kimberly, because the body camera was released, and showing that before she pulled the trigger, she was actually saying that I'm gonna tease you, and she said taser, and the taser, and then after she pulled the trigger, she said, "Oh no,
Right.
I shot him," and it's interesting thing that actually the Brooklyn Center where the incidents happened, the city, Brooklyn Center chief, the police chief called what's his name, Tim Gannon. He insisted to release the body camera of Potter's. Actually, a lot of people just against him doing that. That's how people knew, what actually happened on site. He was fired.
Fired?
Yeah, he had to. Yeah, he
had to resign or being forced to fire.
Right, and another person, the city manager of Brooklyn Center, just because he was saying that, because at a press conference, the mayor of Brooklyn Center just immediately saying he believes that Kim Potter needs to be fired. But then he said, the authority actually belongs to the city manager. And then the city manager, he at the press conference just said he believes that every employee of the city, deserve
due
process. Just because of this sentence, he got fired.
Yeah.
By the city council.
Yeah. So I think two things. Okay. First, I want to conclude my thought earlier, and I'm not saying that Miss Porter did not make any mistake. Okay, she's innocent. What I'm saying that if she's charged right away, 3 days after, I don't know how much investigation has gone into that in 3 days.
Right.
Why not charge the same anonymous person, Capitol Police, in the same way? Why not there? Can anybody explain? Same negligence, same poor judgment. And why did they let him go? No charge at all. By shooting someone in close range. So what's the difference here? Why different treatment? Okay, and then that's the first thing. The second thing is what happened afterwards, right? Okay, the city manager will let go, and then let me reading you the city. Board of Supervisors or city council woman. Okay, she said this. She said, so I just want to read it to you. And, yes, sorry, excuse me. Chris Lawrence Anderson, okay. I'm sorry, maybe it's a he. Okay, he said that the city manager was doing a great job. She is a she. But she said she did not vote to retain him because she was worried about repercussions at a personal level from angry protesters. You got that? Because of worry about repercussions at a personal level from angry protesters, she voted to let go this 18-year experienced city manager who was doing a great job. And then afterwards, okay, and city manager, his name is called Balcony. Right, so Fox asked him to appear on Tucker Carlson show. He refused. The producers, just ask him, not ask him again. Approach him, just invite him. He declined, and he issued a statement. We don't know the full statement. I just know that the quote from it. He said, "I lost my job, but I still have my integrity." And he's a black American. He's a black person. Yeah. He said something, that this police woman deserved due process because of that. He lost his job. And he said he keep his integrity. I'd admire him for that, but he dare not to go to the national TV to say it. Because of pressure, right?
Yeah, because of the repercussion could happen to them.
Yeah, so this is...
but, this is really, we cannot help to relates what what the communists does.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They scare you so that you have to surrender to them.
Yeah, I told you a joke. This joke is a little exaggeration, but it convey the same thing. Like in the communist China, somebody was they were just applauding the great achievement of the party. They started clapping, and then now they started worrying who's gonna stop first. So they clapped for 40 minutes, and then finally the first person who stopped the clapping, and was sent to the labor camp because he's not loyal enough. So everybody's worrying about doing that political incorrect thing, even though it's so against common sense. They still dare not to do it.
Yeah, but
would America become that?
Yeah,
No.
actually, I just remembered how Professor Victor Hansen, told me during the interviews last year when he was analyzing the election. And he said, actually, the leftists just instigated those riots. And their purpose is to really scare some of the voters that, they have to vote the way that the leftists want. And it truly happened. So, and so if people just worry about the mob activity, right, behavior, then you actually fall into the trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is the fear that is freeze people? It's not the ultra leftists they freeze people. It's the fear. It's the mental state. Okay. So something has to be done, and unfortunately, what I see is that the attorney for Ashli Babbitt said they're gonna fight on. They should. We see nothing from that statement from DOJ. What does it say? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe yes, maybe no. We let him go. Okay, or her. I don't know. So, is that the justice? And all right. Okay, let's move on to the second piece of news, which sounds like bad news. Actually, I think it's good news. Anyway, so as you know that Chenault, right? Kenneth Chenault, the former CEO of the American Express, and also the Kenneth Frazier, the CEO of the Merck. Okay, the two black executives. They just led 72 black executives to issue a joint statement last month, and then one and a half weeks ago, they convinced nearly 300 CEO of those companies, public companies, to sign on a statement to criticize the Georgia voting laws. And then last week, just 3 or 4 days ago, they work on the second statement again. And this time, a lot of people sign up on it. And who are they? It's just, it's like Amazon, BlackRock, Google, Warren Buffett, and Coca-Cola, not Coca-Cola, Starbucks, and so on and so forth. Netflix, yeah. And they sign up on United, and just a lot of the big name companies. And so basically, they are on their way of taking over corporate America. However, what is interesting is this: the first two companies, headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, who led the effort to criticize the Georgia voting law are Coca-Cola and Delta. I remember many of you said, I won't drink Coca-Cola anymore, and I'm going to write to their CEO, and some of you did. What happened is this: on the second statement, which was announced today, Wednesday, this morning, Coca-Cola and Delta refused to sign their name on it, even being urged and requested, and they still don't sign their name. What's the reason? They didn't give any reason. Okay, another company, which is the largest company in Atlanta, it's a Home Depot, right? They're hiring nearly like 500,000 employees all over the nation, and they refuse to sign up on it. Okay, and but they issue some statement which says that the most appropriate approach for us to take is to continue to underscore our belief that all elections should be accessible. Well, yeah, the leftists probably like that, fair, and secure. Okay, maybe the conservative people would like that. So they just say, they just say things in a balanced way. And the fourth company, J.P. Morgan Chase, also declined to sign the statement, despite a personal request from senior black business leaders to their executive, even though they signed up on it before. So I don't know what happened. I think some of you help, make that happen. My guess, okay, I didn't. We don't have time to do the investigation here, but I think people spoke out, right? People spoke out, take action. Probably that's the reason. Again, this type of a statement is against common sense. Work against their bottom line too, and then this kind of alliance looks very, very formidable. It's very, very weak.
Yeah.
It's hard to hold it together if the people voice out.
Right, exactly. I think for people who voiced out in different ways, it probably had some effect. And also, I just actually noticed the previous joint statement that was put together by the Civic Alliance, something like that. And there are over 200 companies on there. And they all signed the individual's name. Most of them are the CEOs of the company or the board of director, like that. But for example, in Home Depot, we know one of the co-founders actually is a very conservative supporter, right? So actually, within the company, whether it's in the leadership, the executive level, or the employee level, there are people who have different ideology, different political views, and the customers they serve all have that various, very diversified point of views. And the leftists are trying to just using one maybe CEO stance, trying to represent the company, probably won't work. And that's possibly another, reason that Coca-Cola and Delta, didn't sign on this letter. We don't know. But it's, to the end, trying to just using one person's view to kidnap the whole companies and try to represent the company and try to represent the consumers they serve. It shouldn't work. And for people who don't agree with that, they should just keep doing what they do. And I also read Rasmussen report survey released that reviews that a majority of the voters, actually 60%, believe it's really important to make sure the voting, the elections is secure, not to be cheated, rather than make it easier for everybody to vote.
Yeah,
the so-called accessibility.
And this includes a majority of black voters. Okay.
Right.
And so basically, this is a very typical, very classic examples, right? The corporate America signed up on two statements involving 300 or 400 names. So you look at those names, you're gonna say, how do I live a life if I boycott them all, right? They're all big names, but it's very easy to fall apart, okay? Because it is the coalition that behind them that make them to do that. But if the good people speak out, or even just take some action to write to them, why, if you don't buy something, also just take some time. Just 2 lines of email is fine.
Right, just
write to them.
One sentence.
Yeah.
Just to make to let them. And actually, I remember one of our viewers saying, they all just place an order with Home Depot. It's a big order, but they are just considering canceling that and let the CEO know. Let them know. CEO Home Depot right now probably is kind of trying to balance or. By the
way, they didn't sign up on the first statement either.
Right. But they did something. Did sign a statement saying, they support accessibility of the voters. They try to maybe walk on a fine line. But I think it's still good. If you feel strongly, you just should do what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing, same thing with all the other things. As Victor Hansen said, they are the minority, but they're very active. But the 70% of the people in the middle or the conservative, if they don't speak out, they don't exist, right? So that's why I think that's why we came from China, right? We appreciate how much the freedom so much, right? That's why we are speaking out here. If we don't even would have a chance to speak anymore.
Exactly.
So we have to speak out, and there are 70% people who doesn't like this. It's just a small minority holding a very, very weak alliance. But if the good people don't speak, then they got their way.
Yeah, think about Hong Kong. right? So today, actually, in the Chinese media, it was on the Apple Daily, it was reported that the owner, Jimmy Lai, who has been incarcerated for a few months now, right? He actually sent out a letter to his colleagues. And he was describing that the freedom of speech is a dangerous job. So he wanted his colleagues to be extra careful and pay attention to their own safety. But he also saying that it is our journalists' responsibility to uphold justice as long as we are not deceived by the temptation of injustice and not let evil succeed through us. We have done our duty.
Yeah.
And the last sentence he said, the error has fallen before us, but it is time for us to stand up high. Now, that also reminds me, I know Dan in our audience just remind us about the Project Veritas, the most recent review of the CNN's video. Yeah, we do know that. We probably just don't have time to talk about it today. Think about if you watched that video in thinking about what's happening in Hong Kong right now, to the freedom in Hong Kong, how it's lost.
Yeah.
We cannot let it happen here.
Yeah, those Hong Kong young people, they went to the street, right? They just holding umbrella against tear gas and water guns. And some water gun, they have poison in it.
Yeah.
So that's how they fought. And here it's all about just writing letter. Okay, like a DM you said, try finding anyone to complain to at Amazon or Apple. I tried and they are clever and have no feedback phone number. So what I suggest is this, you write this piece of comment in a piece of paper. You don't even have to say more than that. Sign your name and put in the surface letter, find out the mailing address of the Apple and just mail it to them. As they collect more of such, every letter make a difference. Okay, just say, imagine, just add one sentence. Imagine if people can find your phone number or email, how much letter like this you're gonna receive. Just do that little thing. It's not holding umbrella and facing the riot police yet.
Yeah, not like
right?
Jimmy Lai is incarcerated, right, behind the bars.
We are not in that state. If we act early, we won't be in that state. But if we don't, someday you have to go to the street and be possibly slaughtered. That's what happened in China, in Hong Kong, okay, and in any communist nation. We still have the freedom, guys. We still do.
Yeah, and Kathy Greenwood in our audience saying that I'm continue writing also to our representatives. Yes, good idea. Yeah, the representatives do need to know, and especially the state representatives. They are under great pressure right now because the corporations. Of course, the people who behind those corporations are targeting those state legislatures. And I just read on Breitbart, they are saying that according to their source of information, they believe those Wall Street firms, multinational corporations, giant law firms are teaming up with a justice center called the Brennan Center, which is heavily funded by billionaire George Soros to pressure those states.
Yeah. Okay. And just don't worry about writing a beautiful letter. Just write something. One sentence, two sentences. One paragraph, two paragraphs.
You don't like what they are doing right now?
Just express that. If you don't express it, you do not exist. That's basically it. It's very simple. Just treasure the freedom we still have and do our own duty as a free citizen. And it will make a difference because all those ultra leftists hold up, they're very, very loose, very, very thin.
Because I think as we shared with you before, even the leftists, they are being used by the communists, right? And those companies, they are being used. One day they're gonna regret. We shared with you what happened in China, Alibaba, right? Jack Ma and Alibaba and finance. And right after that day, we didn't do a show yesterday. Actually, yesterday's news was 34 tech companies in China are also being ordered to do so-called reforms. They're gonna be, go through the same fate as Alibaba. So if those corporations, the law firms, they assist the communists to establish a totalitarian regime here, which I don't think it's going to happen, but they are trying to do that. What's their fate going to be? Just look at what's happening in China. So actually, you are doing a good to those companies because most of them are probably just coerced, just blindsided.
Okay, that'll be all for today. We're 4 minutes before beyond. So thank you for watching. Yeah. I don't have a joke.
You don't have a joke? You promised.
Gosh, how about this? Okay, in China, in Soviet, okay, if America becomes a socialist nation, this will happen. Okay, so basically, in the socialist nation, nothing is punctual. Nothing is always. Things are always late. Bus is late, and the train is late, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, because there's no accountability.
It's nobody's responsibility. Right. It's not my business. It's just a state-owned, right? So, as a businessman, go to the train station, and he was so happy. Wow, 8 o'clock. The 8 o'clock train just pulled in just on time. He was really amazed. He said, "How did you do it? Did we have some change in this country?" The conductor said, "No, it was the train of yesterday."
Delayed for 1 day.
All right. That's a simple one. Hope we can lighten you up a little bit. And thank you for watching us. Stay upbeat, stay hopeful. This is Sound of Hope News. We picked that name for a reason, right? There's hope ahead of us. But we need to do our homework. We need to find out the truth. We need to spread the truth. We need to fight for truth.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. I know a lot of you actually are sharing our videos, so really appreciate that.
And as you notice that, just install Safe Chat. Something big will upcoming. Install Safe Chat, please do so. And we'll have a new opportunity to grow with you together.
Yeah, actually on Safe Chat, our Chinese viewers just grow very
fast,
exponentially.
Yeah. Same will happen to the English channel. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.